Trump's 5 catastrophic miscalculations that are now costing the entire world.
Every assumption was wrong. Every single one. When President Donald Trump launched this war alongside Benjamin Netanyahu, he had a plan. A confident, calculated plan. Iran would collapse. The strait would stay open. Oil prices would hold. Allies would follow. And the Iranian people would rise up and finish the job themselves. None of it happened. And now, the world's largest financial institutions are sounding the alarm. If this war does not stop soon, the global economy, including America's own, faces catastrophic collapse. Here are Trump's 5 miscalculations, one by one, laid against the brutal reality of what actually happened.
Miscalculation 1. The regime will fall. Trump's calculation was straightforward. Kill Khamenei. Destabilize the government. The Iranian people, who were already in the streets protesting inflation and unemployment before the war, would rise up, finish the regime themselves, and a US and Israel-friendly government would take power. Trump and Netanyahu publicly demanded the Iranian people take to the streets. They repeated that demand over and over. The people did not rise up against the regime. They rose up in support of it and against the American and Israeli war. The result? 86-year-old Khamenei was replaced not by a moderate reformer, but by his 56-year-old son, Mojtaba Khamenei, a man considered even more hardline than his father. Regime change. The entire foundational objective of this war has completely failed. Miscalculation 2. The strait will stay open. Trump believed Iran would never actually close the Strait of Hormuz, and if they tried, a stern warning would be enough to back them down. And if that failed, offering shipping companies U.S. Navy escorts and war risk insurance would keep the oil flowing anyway. None of those assumptions held. The Strait of Hormuz is closed today. Oil is trading above $100 per barrel right now. America's own economic analysts are now warning 1 month of closure pushes oil to $150 per barrel. 2 months closed, and oil hits $200 per barrel. And here is what makes this unforgivable. The Pentagon and U.S. intelligence both warned Trump directly before the war began. They told him explicitly, if America attacks Iran alongside Israel, Iran will close the strait. Trump dismissed the warning. The world is now paying for that dismissal at the gas pump every single day. Trump is now begging allies to send their navies to reopen the strait. Britain, Germany, Spain, South Korea, and Japan have all flatly refused. China went further and demanded the war end entirely. Miscalculation 3. Emergency reserves will stabilize oil prices.
Trump's backup plan was simple. If oil supply gets disrupted, release emergency petroleum reserves. Flood the market with supply signals. Keep prices stable. The markets were smarter than the plan. Markets understood immediately that the problem was not production. It was delivery. You cannot drill your way out of a blocked strait. Yes, developed nations announced they would release 400 million barrels of emergency reserves, with the U.S. contributing 170 million barrels. But those nations can only physically supply 1.5 to 2 million additional barrels per day. The Strait of Hormuz carries 20 million barrels per day, 20% of the entire world's traded oil. Even with every emergency reserve running at full capacity, the daily shortfall is still 18 million barrels. The backup plan failed completely, and Trump was ultimately forced to lift sanctions on Russia just to keep global oil supply from total collapse.
Miscalculation 4. Iran will not attack Gulf nations. Trump assessed that Iran would repeat its behavior from the previous year. A single symbolic strike on a U.S. base in Qatar, no casualties, purely theatrical. He was wrong. Iran launched full-scale attacks on multiple countries across the region. U.S. military bases were hit. American embassies were targeted. Oil infrastructure is under sustained and ongoing assault. Trump's miscalculation was so severe that he later admitted publicly the U.S. did not evacuate its personnel from Gulf nations before the war because they never expected Iran to react this aggressively. Before the Iraq War, America evacuated its people weeks in advance. This time, there was no evacuation because there was no plan for this reality. Miscalculation 5. Iran has no missiles left. Trump's 5th and final miscalculation was perhaps the most reckless. His assessment was that after the previous conflict in June, Iran had exhausted its missile stockpile and could not sustain a serious fight. If Trump had learned even one lesson from the Ukraine war, he would have understood the threat of Iranian Shahed drones. Those drones have now targeted American bases across the entire region. They have caused destruction. They have caused American casualties. Iran did not run out of weapons. America ran out of answers. The unintended winner, Russia. Perhaps the most devastating irony of this entire war is who benefits most from it. Before this conflict, Trump was threatening tariffs against any nation buying Russian oil. The pressure was working. India had cut Russian oil purchases by 90% and was buying from Arab Gulf states instead. Then Trump started this war. Iran closed the strait. Arab oil stopped flowing. And now, with Trump's own permission, India and other nations are buying Russian oil again. More than before, at premium prices. Russia was previously selling oil at a 4 to 5 discount because of sanctions. Now Russia is charging a premium. Russia is selling more oil at higher prices, earning an extra $15 to $20 billion per day, and has already pocketed an estimated $2.5 billion in additional revenue directly because of this war. Trump spent years trying to financially strangle Russia. This war handed Russia a financial lifeline. And as South Korea now announces it will begin purchasing Russian oil, Trump is simultaneously moving Patriot missile systems away from South Korea toward the Iran war zone. North Korea, Russia's ally and South Korea's enemy, is conducting missile tests at the exact moment South Korea's defenses are being weakened. Trump started this war to satisfy Israel. He has now endangered every other ally America has. WHO takes the blame. The criticism used to be this: America and Israel had the capability and the capacity to fight. They just had no plan. The criticism now is far harsher. There was no plan, no capacity, and no ability to protect themselves or their allies. And yet, Trump will not accept blame. He never does. He takes credit for everything and responsibility for nothing. He needs a trophy in every room and a headline on every win. Criticism is not in his vocabulary. So when the full cost of this war is finally counted, who absorbs the blame? Netanyahu? The Arab allies? Someone else entirely? For now, Trump will decide that answer himself. But history, as it always does, will make its own judgment. And history does not take requests.